Hey everybody, welcome to TPIMSR Live. I'm your host, True Power is Mine. Today, we have, if I can get the camera right, words from Brother Noble Drew Ali. This video was sent to me by a confidential informant, and yeah, it is powerful. So, without further ado, let's do the show.
Noble Drew Ali on the voice of the prophet. I don't know, I should make enough copies for everybody to have it, but it's in the humanity. But the prophet Noble Drew Ali said, if you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become a part of this divine movement. Then you will have the power to redeem your race because you'll know who you are and who your forefathers were. Because where there is unity, there is strength. Together we stand, divided we fall. Come, good people, because I, the prophet, sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you now have. But you have now, need every one of you who think that your condition can be better. Now, the Moors think their condition can be better. I've been in the movement for 25 years. I still think my condition can be better. So you think your condition can be better, or you know somebody who thinks their condition can be better, and I love standing behind the prophet. Yeah, keep them up front. Join the Moorish Science Temple of America and encourage them to do it. Now, there's a caveat to this. He said this is a field open to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. If the European and other nations are helping me, why not you? It's your problem. The Negro problem can be solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish national and divine movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. That's key right there. He said, if you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. Moorish is our free national name, Islam. Japanese is a free national name. Jamaican, Chilean, Mexican, Brazilian, those are free national names. You got to have one of those to be recognized as an American citizen, because they're going to put your free national name, which is Moorish, and they're going to put that with American. Right. That's how you recognize as an American citizen. Now, what happens when you got somebody say, I'm black? Well, you free to be black. I don't know where it is. Like, okay, you say black. Well, show me the black land. Well, where's the black flag? Right. What is the history of the black people? Right. Now, you got somebody who will tell you a lot of things. Like, well, brother, we come from triple stage darkness. Or you got brothers, well, we the black people of Africa and black people all over the world. Okay, but you said Africa. So now you say Africa, it takes me somewhere. Right. But for some reason, you say black, it just don't lead me anywhere. Where can I go when you keep calling me black? I don't know where to go with it. Well, they say the black Egyptians. Okay, Egyptian takes me somewhere. That's what Egypt. Okay, to the pyramids. You think about, the Pharaoh, Kemet, Yeah. Oh, okay. What about the black Hebrews? Wait. The black don't get me nowhere, but Hebrews, now we talking about lineage. And bloodlines and stuff like that. Now, when you say Hebrew, I got a chill up my spine. But black doesn't do anything for it. So the prophet said, if you have a nation, you must have a free national name of that nation as to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant by seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all things will be added unto you. So seek your Moorish free national name. Moorish is your free national name. Seek that. And once you honor who you are, who your forefathers were, Allah bless you. This is the kingdom of heaven. We're building the kingdom of heaven. Moors all around the country right now on this holy day doing what? Building the kingdom of heaven. But we're not talking about in the sky. Our brother Jesus told us that heaven and hell is not a place to be reached. It's what? It's a state of mind. So when I say Moorish, that state of mind takes you somewhere. Oh, Moors in Spain, the Moroccan Empire, all different kinds of things. The ancient Moabites, how they ruled Spain, the civilized, it takes you somewhere. The free national name, and then okay, if you say you black, where's the flag? The red, black, and green? That ain't it. That was Marcus Garvey's logo. That was his flag for his company, for the United Negro Improvement Association. So after the Negro got some improvement, the forerunner sat it down for the Negro. He said, there's somebody coming after me, though. Yeah. Well, he's going to get you right. Somebody coming after me, and he's going to have what you need. He's going to be able to tell you, who you are and who your forefathers were. That way when you go up against the United Nations and they say, pick your flag out, you got somewhere to go. You can look on that flag chart and they say, okay, this is my flag. It's a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. They don't got the Negro, black, and color flag up there, no. Malcolm X tried to take Garvey's flag into the United Nations, and I give hot honor to the brother Malcolm X. Hot honor. But they turned him around with the flag. They said, guess what? We can't do this. You got to get your nationality. What's your free national name? Brother Malcolm Little, Brother Malcolm X, Brother Malcolm Shabazz. He didn't have an answer. He knew. Then Khalid Muhammad said, I was a Moor. I don't know if you more saw that. Khalid Muhammad. He said, we're Moors. That's what he said. They know. They know who we are. We just don't know who we are. So he said, this is what it said about seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be added unto you. Now, these are the words of the prophet. In the article I just read called The Voice of the Prophet Metropolis. Now, when in 1779, Acts 6 says, with us all members of the claim of nationality, and we are teaching our people that nationality divine people, they may know that they are part and parcel of this city government, and know they are not Negroes, blacks, colors, the Ethiopians, right? Why did he say that? He said that because 1774 and 1779, a general in 1774 by the name of General George Washington was in Carpenter's Hall on September 5th of 1774. Well, after the Moors were defeated, because we were here too before the Europeans got here too. Right. That's the part of the story they don't want to tell you. All they want to tell you about is the slave ships. We got beat up, the roots, We got a lot of that too. But they didn't tell you we were already here before the European made his appearance. Islam. So in 1774, the European nations, prophets of the European nations, put these labels on us. Those are 13 colonies. And each colony represented a different nation. Right. A different European nation. Each colony. That's what the prophets about the European nations. So there was a conference. George Washington was a Mason, ancient accepted a Freemason, and they had just started that up in the 1700s, right? And Masonry is not a bad thing when it's done right. Meaning, our ancient forefathers were the first builders, the first masons. Jesus Christ told us about the carpenters too, didn't he? Didn't Jesus teach about the carpenters as well? Right? Who brought that? No one had ever released that lesson to the Asiatics in North America except Noble Drew Ali. So you got to understand that the lower self is a reflection of the higher self. So just like George Washington was a Mason in the 13 colonies, and they gathered around the Carpenter's Hall on September 5th of 1774. And they had this big meeting because they had just defeated the Moors, because the Moors were hard to beat. There's Moors that say, George Washington said, I will not tell a lie, I cut down my father's tree. Red cherry tree, right? Right. He cut it down. I will not tell a lie. I cut down my father's tree, because he know who told him this. The European know. He know who his father is. So they, after the convention, they closed it out, and at the end of the convention, they met in September, and they were going to meet again in October. And I had this page set aside right now, and I want to just read this to you right quick. Now, George Washington was the chairman of the convention. We're talking about Philadelphia, 1774 in September. Chairman George Washington said, it's like I'm the chairman of tonight's meeting, see high stuff, low stuff, it's always an opposite factor. There's a raising debate on how to perpetuate slavery of the Moors with this statement. If we would agree to take the fezzes and turbans off the Moors' heads and remove the sandals from their feet and enforce it with severe punishments, and also swear a death oath between ourselves to religiously and faithfully not allow anyone to teach the Moorish children who they really were or who their forefathers were, and only allow Moorish children to be taught that they were truly Negroes, black people, and colored folks. Don't that sound familiar? Yeah. That sounds like Act 6, right? Yeah. We talking about 1774. Right. George Washington said that 200 years from today, 1774, so let's say 1974, right? We can go to 2015. 200 years from today, he done pushed it out a little further too, right? 200 years from today, the Moorish people would not know their nationality, nor the national name of their forefathers. Also, they would not know from which land or ancestors they were descended from. Ain't that the case today? Yeah. Don't tell the Moors who they are. Because when you know your free national name, it's a spirit that comes about in you, your forefathers. No, Drew Ali said, if you had a spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice to the utmost of your very life to protect your property. So if they know they Moors, you're going to start acting like you a Moor. You're going to stand up a little straight. When the other nations, they sell you different types of things you ain't supposed to have, but they look down on them like that. Who looking down on? My mothers and fathers are we the founders of civilization. Yeah. But Negro can't get you there. No. Black can't get you there. No. So let's get so we talking about the higher self, the lower self, and its balance. George Washington was a Mason. Those in the 13 colonies were Masons. I have nothing against Masonry. I think Masonry is good to build character, depending on if you got the true Masonry, right? No, Drew Ali said, I took all the covers off the secret organization. They tried to bury us, right? The chairman tried to bury us. No, Drew Ali said, Brother Billy, you be our chairman. You be our supreme grand Sheikh chairman. Because everything has something different. So the European used it to hide it. You know, we're gonna knock him over the head and blind him, and he's not gonna know who we are. And 200 years from now, they still ain't gonna know. Yes. But Allah blessed us. Allah said it's time. 1913. A man said, come on, ye Asiatics, North American, hear the truth about your nationality and birthright. No, Drew Ali had a chairman too. He was the chairman before the chairman was the chairman. So George Washington here, who was definitely an enemy of the Moors, we can say I'm not accusing it, just what the record states. You know, Drew Ali came and raised us up. They thought he would never come away. They thought he would never ever just wake back up. That's why you never hear about Noble Drew Ali in your history books. I'm saying about Noble Drew Ali. Moors is saying when the brother Mansour Ball Bay on stories, do not show a picture with his fez on and don't call him a Moorish American. Why would the European want to do that? Because he knows. They said, George Washington said, a blood oath, don't tell them. Right. A death oath. We will murder you if you tell these Moors who they are. We'll murder you. So that's why the CNN ain't gonna hit. You don't hear on NBC. You ain't gonna hear unless it's something negative. But Moorish Americans have tried to squat in their home and call themselves sovereign. Now they want to be, now they want to put Moorish American on that. They get the Asiatics to step away from y'all. Y'all crazy. Y'all sovereign. Y'all say, you don't need a driver's license and all of that. When it comes to Master Ball Bay, it's just a black guy, black kid, black team. Right. Because the black don't take, it hides you. So yeah, we give honor, like I said, we give honor to the prophet Noble Drew Ali, the holy prophet Noble Drew Ali. Holy prophet. And we also give honor to the folks. General and later President George Washington and all his descendants. Moors, we never get out this war between the high self and the low self. We've never been out this war. They just mask it. That's why certain organizations that came after Noble Drew Ali, that call themselves black, they get all the funding, they get all the parade, all the media.
Keep it going.
Yeah, keep it going. What you want? You want the Black United Fund? How about the NAACP for the colored people? Right. Huh? How about United Negro Group? United Negro Fund. You want some Negroes? We need some Negroes. Right. We need the colored people. Right. Huh? What about the MSTA? No, wait a minute now. You're talking crazy now. Hey, wait a minute. You didn't decorate your fence. Your tassel moves 360 degrees. I don't want you to know nothing about that. But Allah sent us a Savior, Noble Drew Ali, to teach us those things that will help make us better citizens. And that's another. I got this book for the Austin Hopkins thing. Yes. Called "What Your History Books Fail to Tell You." I'm gonna speak with the Supreme Grand Sheik, and hopefully we can do this on a Sunday school. It depends on if he said yes or no. But it's definitely a good book to have because it teaches us our history. And if you notice, Noble Drew Ali said he wants to have the convention moved in September from October. Now, that was the Odd Colors Convention. That was in September 1774. Then George Washington said we're gonna meet again in October of 1774. Ain't nothing strange about that. Drew Ali is a scientist. Yeah. This is the Moorish science. The reason why it's only a handful in it, there's only a handful of strong men and women that really have it, that really can take this truth. This truth is kind of tough. It's hard. It's different from anything else. We got our own culture. We got our own customs. We got our own customs. We got brothers that say, well, we should do it the way the Muslims in the East do it. No. We got our own cultural customs. We got our own heritage. We got our own way that we do this. Our group do it different. Every nation had their own customs and cultural traditions. So they say when the Moorish American cultural tradition, some brothers might decide they want to make salat, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Nobody can tell you this. This is ours. Don't let us win to a Orthodox Muslim. What are you doing, brother? That's not the way we do it. No, correction. That's not the way you do it. We do it this way. Well, brother, you know any Arabic? No, I don't know nothing. Hope to find something one day. Oh, I heard to learn. I'm saying I hope to learn it. But right now, if I spoke it, many people wouldn't get the idea of what I was talking about. That's not our cultural way. See, we doing Islam the way Noble Drew Ali taught it to us, and how it can be adopted to American life. Now, people think American, they think European. European didn't just build this by himself. He wouldn't even get over here if it wasn't for us. We taught him how to get over here. This belongs to us, or even more, just as much as do the European. No doubt.
This is 2019, and he's still touching lives. And he's not even here in the flesh. He's still touching many people that say, oh, what is this? And many of us have a testimony about how the prophet touched our lives, that's incredible. It's really incredible. Some of my European associates I knew, what's this about you, Emmanuel? You didn't used to be that way. I said, well, I didn't know. Now that I know who I am, I took advantage of the opportunity to proclaim that. So whatever you knew me about what I was before has changed. I changed and I made a correction in my life. And you should change too. It's what I tell my European friends, because you're not white. And stop telling people you're white. Go to your dinner table tonight and have a conversation with your people. And if whatever nationality that you are, tell them who you are. And tell all the rest of your people who you are. And tell the people you meet who look like you to stop calling yourselves white. It's wrong. Correct yourself. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is one of the greatest inspirational human beings in this century. Now we have to consider what the prophecies mean. The prophecies mean a continuation of information since the beginning of time. This is one of many ways we know that Noble Drew Ali is Allah's prophet, because he has brought us and the entire world a saving power, the everlasting gospel to assure us that man will win, that man is from the everlasting past to the never-ending days to come, and that there's no failure for him, frankly. There's no failure for man. Well, the prophet Noble Drew Ali explains to us that Marcus Garvey was his forerunner, just like John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days. Marcus Garvey started the people to thinking, our people, to thinking about, hey, up United Nation, you can liberate yourself. Because in Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, he also says to his people, he said, we need a nationality, just like the Chinese, just like the English. He said, and we need to get back to the God of Africa, who is Allah. Now, I'm quoting Marcus Garvey's words from his letter in his book, Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. So those people who doubt Marcus Garvey being a forerunner of the prophet should read the Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. And it's right there. The prophet Noble Drew Ali is in many history books. In the early 40s, there is a book called They Seek a City by Anna Bontemps, who wrote about the great prophet Noble Drew Ali, by Doubleday Publishing Company. And then there's another book, the BLACK Gods of Metropolis by Arthur Fawcett, who speaks about Noble Drew Ali. In fact, they speak about the prophet Noble Drew Ali passing off the scene and physically in 1929, and the next year, 1930, according to Arthur Fawcett's book, there's a man who shouted that he was the prophet Noble Drew Ali reincarnated. He was a peddler in Detroit, and his name was Farad Muhammad. We have reference to many of these people being a part of Prophet Noble Drew Ali's program, in which if you continue to watch this program, you'll get a copy of the posting of the membership in Detroit in 1929, where Farad Muhammad, Elijah Poole Bey, and his family were members and followers of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Black history is dead history. It has no relevancy to us as free national beings, having our free national name. We're glad that his name is not mentioned in Black history, because that doesn't serve the purpose in which he came here for. Our Prophet Noble Drew Ali is the first Moorish American, the first one. Now, there were Moroccan Americans then, there are Moroccan Americans now, but a Moorish American, he's the first one. And he says, what I have done, all of you can do. And I'm paraphrasing according to Jesus. But he is the first one. And what he's done is he's made all of us like him, Moorish American Muslims. I have never seen anything in writing that he went to Washington, D.C. and brought our flag. I have never seen anything of that sort, but if it is available, I'd like to read it, know more about it, but I can't stand on it, that flag. I know that I believe that he didn't have to get permission from anybody to do what he had to do for our people, because Allah Almighty divinely prepared him and sent him here for this purpose. And his coming is just immaculate. Look how many lives he's touched. This is 2019, and he's still touching lives. And he's not even here in the flesh. He's still touching many people that say, oh, what is this? And many of us have a testimony about how the prophet touched our lives. That's incredible. It's really incredible. Some of my European associates I knew, what's this about you, man? Well, you didn't used to be that way. I said, well, I didn't know. Now that I know who I am, I took advantage of the opportunity to proclaim that. So whatever you knew me about what I was before has changed. I changed, and I made a correction in my life. And you should change too. It's what
We're going to segue into, only got a few more minutes of the broadcast. So we're going to do this real quick one. And I hope that you're appreciating the show today. It's more or less a history level.
The criminalization of minorities in this country, the enslavement of minorities in this country. So the first thing that I would do is what the Constitution was written for in the first place, was to eliminate the race box.
The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery.
Well, I think you have to go back to Lincoln in the 13th Amendment with 20 articles, not 3.
Here is Section 12 of the original 13th Amendment with its 20 sections, which would have saved our people a lot of trouble with reverting back to our nationality. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. And I repeat that. And the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. Logically, it makes sense because we would be proclaiming our nationality at that time, which is our birthright and everyone's right. Everyone has a right to a nationality. Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, Article 15, Section 1, everyone has the right to a nationality. Section 2, no one should be arbitrarily deprived of their nationality nor denied their right to change their nationality. Here's Amendment 13, Section 17, Clause 2 or 3. Congress may assist free persons of African descent to immigrate and colonize Africa. It is important to comprehend the terminology that is being used, such as the words immigrate and colonize.
Here's the definition of the word immigrate. Leave one's own country in order to settle permanently in another. Here's the definition of the word colonize. Of a country or its citizens send a group of settlers to a place and establish political control over it. Come to settle among and establish political control over the indigenous people of an area. Appropriate a place or domain for one's own use. Here's the definition of the word settler. A person who moves with a group of others to live in a new country or area.
These four brothers sitting here, we didn't all come from Africa. And there was a country before 1492, and our history goes way beyond 1492. So you can't start us at 1492. We were always here. We were always here. The elimination, you won't need the 14th and the 15th Amendment.
The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the Free National Constitution law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the Free National Constitution to be free and equal, since that Constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens.
It was more than about having a dream. It was about, the continuance of a dream and the continuance of us as a fallen people in this country to uplift ourselves into humanity and be a part of the Constitution and be a part of law and be a part of this society.
There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by the other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations.
1971, you see the point, when they incorporated, turned the republic into a corporation.
The idea that the United States is a corporation, right?
Yes. Well, it is. That's true. The United States is a corporation.
In order to put the Moors later, as they did earlier, solidify the 14th Amendment artificial person in the state of Delaware as Christian property. This is why such persons is called Negroes, Black, and Coloreds, and whatever they call themselves this week, can't vote with them names that don't belong to them, except that the overseer, or what you call the CEO, through the Senate, agrees that their cattle can vote as 3/5 persons because they have no name and nationality. When you understand the history from a law perspective, your view will change from it just being some historical flaw or some little dirty trick that the Europeans do. You would need to understand its political ramifications. If you transact business in another man's name, don't talk about estates and don't talk about property because you don't even own your own body.
Race is a social construct, and it was invented. And it was invented in this country, right, to talk and to call each other black, white, colored, Negro, African American, whatever label you choose.
The word Negro alludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored alludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live.
And I would say this to all of you, all of us who have traveled outside of the United States. When you travel outside of the United States, whatever country you enter into, you never, ever say you're black, and you never signify as white. You never, ever say you're black, and you never signify as white.
If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. And any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers.
Chinese, Russian, Italian, German, Swedish, Korean, Egyptian, Nigerian, black.
I would eliminate the race box.
I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own national and divine standard, because day by day, they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional.
When you talk about the greatest leaders of all time, they were all servants. Jesus Christ, Buddha, Mohammed, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King. When you talk about leaders of men and leaders of a society and people who inspired, they were all servants to mankind and trying to uplift humanity.
So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc. In their present condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world, they will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought them Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives a life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light.
All righty, y'all. I want to thank the confidential informant that sent me this material. They told me this watch it. You know, I love to learn. I'm constantly learning. I'm still learning, y'all. But hopefully today's show has given you something. Maybe an insight to do the research for yourself. Don't do that. Don't click those cups, Gary. You're going to break them. Go. Yes, I'm also homeschooling my children right now. I didn't send them back to school, so we're doing school videos, the whole enchilada. Here I am. All right. And I want to say thank you for all who's been praying for me. But this will conclude TPIM SR Live for today. I'm your host, True Power is Mine. And as always, I ask you to live your life with integrity, without hate, envy, or greed. And as always, brothers and sisters, let's try to be kinder to each other. Peace and power, unity and victory, dignity and respect. I'm out. Liberation.